Hello, everyone. Hope you are well on this Monday night. What a day. There is a lot going on. It's a fluid situation as far as this banking thing, contagion, they're calling. And I've read a lot of things, I've done some research, and I'm looking, what I want to do is talk a little bit about it, but look at it from the point of how does this affect us, the regular person, the folks, if you will, as most of us are, just regular folks, right? How does this affect us? And the overarching feeling that I'm getting, and I'll go into it more here in a minute, but the overarching feeling that I'm getting is that it's just going to roll down on us. It's just going to affect us on multiple levels as usual, and we will be dealing with it at some point, right? Let me explain. Okay, first, like I said, what a day. They say that $100 billion was wiped off the United States banking market in one day, a single day. Former White House advisor said that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Wall Street saw regional banks fall up to 60% today. The big four banks, you may say this is just the small banks, but regionals, but the big four banks were drawn into this collapse, this SVB collapse, calling it a collapse contagion, some are calling it. The sell-off hit the big four trillions of dollars. Citibank shares, their share dropped. They saw 7.45%. Wells Fargo dipped 7.1%. Bank of America 5.8%, and JP Morgan almost 2%. So so it's starting to affect them. Now, former Trump staffer Steve Moore said that the system is still sound right now, but I do think you have a lot of major banks that are in some trouble. That is something to keep an eye on, something to remember. It was interesting that Biden made a speech at 9 a.m. right as the markets opened and the banks opened up this morning. Of course, he said you should have confidence that the system is safe. Everything's fine. Don't worry. Be happy. All is well. We've heard that before, though, haven't we? We've heard that before. I remember hearing back when, I don't know, over a year ago or so, when they said that inflation was transitory. We had a feeling that was not true. And they kept saying it, transitory, transitory. And they even said at one point, Biden said zero, inflation is at zero. What? Have you been to the store? No, I guess he hasn't been. He doesn't have to go to the store like us. Why should we trust one word? Why? One word that comes out of their mouths. I don't. I really don't. I'll listen. I just want to keep up with what they're saying. But why should we trust anything? Going back to this Silicon Valley Bank thing, I mean, looks like a multitude of things. I mean, I know I said before, gross mismanagement, that was part of it for sure. Rising interest rates. And then also this Steve Moore was saying that massive inflation is so the Fed plays a big part in this. Massive inflation plus trillions of dollars of borrowing that the federal government has been doing. So you've got this inflation boom going up. Add on to that higher interest rates that's killing it. And you've got a bad storm here going. Now, who's going to pay for this? That's the question I always say. Well, what's next? Who's paying for this? How does it affect us? Well, of course we are, or we will be. We already are with inflation. Your dollar has less value, and it will continue to devalue from everything that I'm reading, in my opinion. There was talk also of this fund that has been set up. They call it a backstop. And from the best that I can decipher, is that it is designed to shore up the confidence in the financial system, and it will be a big enough pot of money to protect the entire nation's deposits. So whatever the FDIC cannot cover, so they can't. They said they can't cover anything over $250,000 in your bank. That the federal government will come in and backstop the rest of all that. So they're going to save them. Again, who's paying for this? Where's that money coming from? Who eventually pays for it? What do you think? Mm-hmm. Who's protecting us? Who's protecting the average person, the folks, the middle class? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Who's protecting you and me? I'll get to that more here in a second, but the regular person, we just keep getting fleeced on and dumped on. And whatever they do, it sounds like whatever action here they're taking, it sounds like they're just kicking this down the road more and more, where just, I've heard people say they're putting a Band-Aid on it. Yeah. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. With that Band-Aid they just put on, it's going to bust off and really, really just get worse. And this money and, printing more money, that just causes more inflation. If you think it's bad now, give it a few months. And that just makes everything else more expensive and more difficult for the people. Sounds familiar again, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. The middle class, the regular folks, the lower class even. Those right on the poverty line or below. I mean, as it is, can't buy a home. I mean, even the middle class, even upper middle class, have been priced out of buying a home. Even a car. Good luck. Food, medicine, insurance. Yeah, you got to have insurance. What do? You see how it affects us. True, we don't have, thousands and tens of thousands or $1 million in the bank. Most of us don't. Some do, yeah, sure. But we're paying for it too. Paying for it. That's the way I look at it. We must protect ourselves. We are on our own. Us and Jesus. We must invest. We must invest in ourselves. And that is my, like I said a while ago, what do we do? There's several things I think that are super important. And number one is spiritual readiness, spiritual preparedness. Every day. Pray. Okay. We have to have that, no matter what. Number two, we need to protect ourselves and invest in ourselves. That may look different for everybody. Invest in things as well. The money's getting devalued. That note, that dollar. I mean, we don't know from day to day now. Invest in your land. If you have land or whatever you do have, if that's a home, an automobile even. Things of intrinsic value. If you have land, if you have a home, invest in it. Keep it up as best you can. If you have just even an automobile, it can be newer, it can be older. Do your best to keep it in good shape while you can. Now, take care of it, and it will take care of you. I'm not super knowledgeable on gold and silver. I don't fault people for having it. True, I know you can't eat it, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have some of that. I don't think you should pull all your money out and go all in on that necessarily. I wouldn't do that. And I'm not a financial advisor or expert in that. but I would keep some cash out, like I've said before. You can stack your cash. If you want to have a little silver, I don't think that's a bad idea. I really don't. Not at all. Back to spiritual to wrap this up. And this is the most important. You don't hear nothing else. If you're still watching, I appreciate it. But this is the most important, y'all. Okay. We have to focus, and this is a storm. We're in it. It's just getting bigger. And we have to focus more on Jesus than the storm. We really do. We have to keep an eye on that storm. Yes, we do. In Psalm 90, chapter 9, Psalm 90, verse 12 says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." That's just truth and poetry, isn't it? Feels good to say it. We can be overwhelmed with a lot of things. We can be overwhelmed with things we've done, the passage of time and what we're doing. We're doing enough. What haven't we done? And been there, here, whatever. But we need to focus, like I said, focus on the gifts of today. Focus on what you have, your blessings, what you do have, the positives. Build on that. Again, focus on Jesus and do not be afraid. Okay? We will make it. And share your thoughts on that. I hope that was helpful. We'll see how this week turns out. It could be a real rocky week. This was a heck of a day on Monday, but we will just keep our eyes on it and keep up with it. But keep doing the things. Keep living your life. Take care. God bless you. I'll see you soon.